You and I have been talking about you potentially getting involved in boxing for years, and it's finally happening in a major way. How pumped are you to be a co-promoter of the super fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford in September, and how are preparations going for that?
Well, think about this. When you talk about, me getting involved in boxing this whole time, my first boxing match ever is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime fight. You got undefeated Crawford, 31 knockouts, the undisputed welterweight champ, taking on Canelo Alvarez, 4 titles in 4 different weight classes, 39 knockouts, the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world at Allegiant Stadium, 65,000 seats. The problem is I don't know where I go from here.
Hey, Danny, you know what's interesting? There's that. But you know what's interesting is it's getting headlines, too, because of your media partner. Historically, we don't see it like this. Netflix is going to stream the fight to a global audience instead of your normal, traditional pay-per-view model. That in and of itself is really interesting. What do you make of that?
You can go back and look at every interview I've ever done throughout history. My dream from day one when I got into this business was putting on a fight that everybody cares about and the whole world can watch at the same time on the same channel. So, this thing could not be any more perfect for me.
Hey, Dana, if that was the dream when you got in, and that's going to happen right now, what is the next dream you have?
Well, I actually had a conference call with all the Netflix people yesterday, and they were walking us through how they promote and what they do and the power that they have. And then if you look at my machine and the power that I have, I think we just build from here. Listen, I don't disagree. I just said it. You're starting off with a once-in-a-lifetime fight. This is one of those fights that we would, if it didn't happen, 10 years from now when these guys are past their prime, you'd be going, man, imagine if Canelo would have fought Crawford. It's one of those type of fights, except it's actually going to happen. And right now, when you look at Canelo and what he's accomplished, and Crawford undefeated, 2 of the best guys ever in the sport of boxing, they're going to fight in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium.
What I'm about to ask you, you're not going to say is the beauty of what we do, because I know you're sick of the question. Does Jon Jones not want to fight, or does Jon Jones just not want to fight Tom Aspinall?
Listen, Jon Jones has been an interesting human being to deal with since the day he got here. But I will say this about him. You would never hear me out, talking about he's the GOAT and he's the this and he's the that if Jon Jones didn't want to fight people. Jon Jones has never, ever said, I'm afraid to fight this guy, or I don't like this fight for me, or any of that stuff. One time, his coach at the time, back in the day, I don't know if he's still with them or whatever, I think it's the only fight we've ever canceled, had to cancel a show because of, but he wouldn't fight Chael Sonnen because his coach thought it was a bad idea to take that fight on late notice, but it had nothing to do with Jon Jones. Jon Jones has never turned down an opponent here or been afraid to fight anybody.
So if, for instance, he doesn't fight this guy, who would you like to see him fight? Or are you going to wait until he fights this guy?
I don't know. We'll see how this thing plays out over the next couple weeks. But if we can't get this fight done, we'll move on quickly.
I was going to say, Dana, my last thought on that. How long are you going to wait? How long is it worth waiting for?
I said a couple weeks.
Couple weeks?
We'll have answers in the next couple weeks.
Dana, I know how strongly you feel about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a discipline. So how long has this project been in the works, and what can fans expect from the league?
Yeah, well, really, when you think about it, me and the Fertitas ended up buying the UFC because of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We got into it, started to meet some of the fighters, and then we became so obsessed with it that, it ended up leading us to buy the UFC. So I am in the mixed martial arts business, boxing business, slap business, and now Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu business. So it's been in the work for about probably 3 years we've been working on this.
So you're in all these different businesses, all these different disciplines. Hey, Dan, as a boxing guy, when you started, when you first saw Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what did you think? What did you like so much about it?
Yeah, every man who thinks he can fight or, has some level of confidence with handling himself, the first time that you take a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, lesson with a black belt, It is the most eye-opening experience of all time. And then as you start to get into it, you become addicted to it. It is a fascinating sport. What's up, everybody? UFC President Dana White here to talk to you about one of the most badass fight nights of the year, happening live and free on ABC, the network, July 26th from Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi. Here we go. In the main event, we have number 5 ranked Robert Whittaker taking on Reinier de Ridder. Whittaker, a former UFC middleweight champion, you all know he's been in some of the best fights in middleweight history and now intends on being the first guy to beat de Ridder in the UFC. De Ridder is a former middleweight and light heavyweight world champion and has finished everyone he has fought in the UFC. He's coming off a win over the top prospect in the sport, Bo Nickel. If de Ridder can beat Whittaker, it's very likely he'll be fighting for the number 1 contender bout next. I am pumped for this fight because these guys are both killers and they always come out and deliver. In the co-main event, we have another 5-round fight between number 4 ranked Movsar Evloev taking on the guy most people consider to be the top free agent in the world, Aaron Pico. Evloev is undefeated at 19-0 and one of the most intimidating guys at featherweight. Aaron Pico is a ridiculously violent striker and a very high-level grappler. Pico has had hype behind him since he was a teenager because of his skill and fighting style, which people compare him to the likes of Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier. If Movsar can get the victory, he will likely be the next contender for the title against Alexander Volkanovski. Expect this fight to be an absolute war. Just added, former UFC champion and number 3 ranked bantamweight in the world, Petr Yan, will be taking on the very explosive Marcus McGee, who earned this fight by going 4-0 in the UFC with 3 finishes and 3 post-fight bonuses. Also, Bryce Mitchell is making a big move down to the bantamweight division and will debut against the always dangerous Saeed Nurmagomedov, the cousin of Khabib. Shara Bullet is back and will fight Marc-Andre Barriault, which should be an incredible matchup. And top-ranked light heavyweight Nikita Krylov puts his 93% finish rate against the 100% finish rate of the absolutely terrifying Bogdan Guskov. Ladies and gentlemen, live and free on ABC, the network, July 26th from Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi. I will see you there.